Swinging a drive. Right field and deep. Back goes Aquino. It's got a chance. Gone. Get out the tape measure. Long gone.
Fly the W!
Cubs fans, it's time to fly the W with Dustin Rhodes and Paul Crawly Jean.
Welcome, everybody, to the Fly the W podcast. It is season number 4. It's episode number 29. Cade Horton made his MLB debut. Don't forget to listen, download, subscribe, and most importantly, review the podcast. Follow on all the socials. I'm at Mully Haw on X.
And you can follow me at Crawly's Cubs on X, Blue Sky, and TikTok, and Crawly's Clubhouse on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. And you can email us any thoughts, questions, reactions to Cade Horton at crawlysclubhouse@gmail.com.
All right, Crawly, we've got a little recap of what went down in New York. Cubs and Mets, game number 1. Jameson Taillon, Clay Holmes. This was Friday night.
I got to tell you, Dustin, we talked about how Jameson Taillon had excellent career numbers against the Mets. Well, Friday night, he had the worst start of his season. First batter he faced, first batter. Francisco Lindor. He gets ahead 0-2 before giving up a solo home run. Cubs down 1-0 after the first batter. Bottom of the second, Taillon is ahead of Brett Beatty, 0-2. Then 1-2 before Beatty hits a home run. 2 batters later, Jeff McNeil homers on the first pitch he sees to make it 3-0. And then Juan Soto would hit a solo home run in the fourth. The fourth home run given up by J-Mo, that was a career high. Dustin, he would only go 4 innings. He gave up 4 runs, 5 earned, or he gave up 6 runs. 5 of them were earned, 1 walk, and 4 Ks. But Dustin, when I look at this, with the pitching staff being what it is, with Shota down, with Justin Steele down, going only 4 innings is just going to kill a bullpen that's already struggling.
Well,
Can't,
I mean, this.
No, I'll just say can't do it.
No, you can't. You can't have it. You're going to tax him. You're going to tax him too much. Yeah, it was just really disappointing way to get this thing going. Obviously, we're not at must wins or anything like this.
No.
But after losing a couple of games, I felt like Taillon needed to be kind of the stopper. It's kind of a statement game for him, and he didn't deliver.
And again, just the expectations that come with how good he's been against the Mets and New York in his career. A lot of these guys just had bad numbers against him, and I don't know what he couldn't finish the hitters. When you get to those 0-2 and 1-2 and give up home runs, that's frustrating, right?
Super frustrating.
Like if you're down 3-0, okay, now you're in trouble. You're going to throw it right down the middle, but you're ahead like that. You hear that a lot. He just couldn't finish the hitters, and that was the issue. The other issue, Dustin, no offense. Clay Holmes and the Mets bullpen held the Cubs to 2 runs on 5 hits. Kyle Tucker had homered off Holmes, the first home run he's given up all season. Michael Busch hit a solo home run, Dustin, but that was in garbage time in the 9th when the Cubs were down 7-1. Busch, though, did hit a double as well. The Cubs did not have many scoring opportunities. They were 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position. They left 6 men stranded. Swanson, Suzuki, PCA, and Happ all left men in scoring position with 2 outs. Dansby also hit into a double play. I mean, Dustin, in this game, they were just bad all around. And not only was the pitching and offense bad, there was bad all over the place. One of the Cubs' best players right now, best hitters, Carson Kelly, hitting the finger with the pitch. He didn't play the next day. Luckily, it seems like he's okay, but you never know how it affects these guys long-term. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, and plus, there's a ton. He's getting pounded. His hands are getting pounded constantly.
Right. I mean, it's the last hitter the Cubs need to lose right now. PCA was caught stealing for the second time in a week.
Yep.
That was unusual. Dansby Swanson committed an error when he was going for a 6-3 double inning double play. Luis Angel Acuna, Ronald Acuna's brother, hit one to Swanson, and Luis Angel's very fast. Swanson fielded the ball, stepped on second, but then he kind of like winged it. He kind of like sidearmed the throw to Busch. That allowed 2 runs to score. It was just a bad game, a bad start all around. I said it on the last podcast that I wanted the Cubs to play clean, competitive baseball, and that was the exact opposite of what we got in game 1.
Exact opposite. All right, game number 2, Brad Keller versus Tyler McGill.
Yep. Now, the three key takeaways here is that the offense did bounce back a day after a poor offensive showing. The offense looked good. They scored on the long ball, some small ball, good base running. They took their walks, timely hitting. But Dustin, something really nerve-wracking we saw when the lineup came out is that Ian Happ was out and PCA was batting leadoff.
A lot of people wanted that. A lot of people wanted to see him in the leadoff spot, but I think it's a little early still.
Correct. Bottom of the first, he singles. He stole second, advanced to third. Kyle Tucker would walk to bring up Seiya, who has been ice cold. He singled to put the Cubs up 1-0. The Cubs would load the bases with 2 out, and Dansby Swanson had an RBI single to make it 2-0. Seiya would also hit a double in the third and come around to score on a Michael Busch single. Cubs had a nice, healthy 3-0 lead. Dansby Swanson would hit his 8th home run at the top of the 4th. And then Miguel Amaya had an important 2-out single in the 8th to drive in 2 runs. The Cubs scored 6 times on 9 hits. They were 4 for 8 with runners in scoring position. That'll play, Dustin.
Oh, yeah.
Seiya was 2 for 5 with an RBI. Busch 2 for 3 with an RBI. Dansby 2 for 3 RBI. A big difference, but especially the fact that if you see these losses lately, especially, it's that combination of Tucker and Seiya and Busch not doing anything. And to see, like I said, Seiya 2 for 5, Busch 2 for 3. That's going to be a big difference right there, you know?
Right. They need everybody to be pulling in the same direction. And it seems like on this particular trip, it was, everybody was going in the bad direction, right?
Yeah. But one thing that was exciting, we did have the debut of Cade Horton.
Indeed.
Now, Dustin, we didn't know when he would appear. We knew he was going to appear, and we found out beforehand that Brad Keller would get the start. And so they're going to go with the opener strategy. And he sat down Lindor, Soto, and Alonso to start the game. And then bottom of the second, here he comes, straight from Oklahoma, Cade Horton. What'd you think about the idea of the Cubs going with the opener?
Didn't like it at all. Not
No?
at all. I mean, I guess I understand it, but understanding it and liking it, 2 completely different things. I mean, now you just wasted Keller, right? He did 3 batters. Now I know those are 3 big outs. I get that. But again, if his outing would have went another way, we would have been pointing fingers that they handled it differently than they have any other start he's ever made in his life. Plus, this doesn't count as a start. It counts as a relief appearance.
It's like anything else in life, right? If it works out great, you look like a genius. If it doesn't, you look like a dummy. That's part of what being a baseball manager is. I would have preferred you just get the start. I want to see what he is. I want to see what he has.
Right.
Whatever.
I'm with you 100%. 100%.
But
I don't get. I didn't like it.
I understood what they were doing because they let Keller take it. So, the butterflies are kind of out. He doesn't have the start, all that stuff. The other thing is they didn't want Horton facing those guys 3 times. Right. And so he ended up only facing that combination. When you think about those 3 guys at the top of the lineup, right? Lindor going into Juan Soto, going into Pete Alonso. I mean, other than LA, I don't think there's a better 1 through 3.
No, no, they're stacked. They're really, really good. Tough outs.
And so I get what they were doing, but it was also like, I remember I was there at Mark Pryor's debut when he first came up against the Pirates. And it was just that excitement, that buzz. Okay, here this kid comes. Let's see what he has. He absolutely shut down the Pittsburgh Pirates that night. I was just hoping to see what Horton could do if he got that chance. But like I said, it worked out the way that it did. He had a nice 1, 2, 3 inning to start off, and he struck out the first batter he faced. So that was pretty cool. In the 3rd inning, though, he hit a batter, and Miguel Amaya got called for catcher's interference. Miguel Amaya has done a lot better with that. He had a big problem with that in the first half last season, but it hasn't been a problem. But right there, of all the times, now you got 2 on, 1 out instead of 2 outs. And so now Horton has to face Lindor and Soto, but he gets out of that mess without giving up a run. He wasn't so lucky in the bottom of the 4th. Pete Alonso hit a leadoff single. Brandon Nimmo pops out, and Mark Vientos singles to put runners at first and second with 1 out. They advanced 90 feet on a wild pitch. Runners at second and third, 1 out. He strikes out Luis Angel Acuna for the 2nd out. He's 1 out away from getting out of the inning, but Brett Beatty hits a 3-run homer, and that cut the Cubs' lead to 4-3. Cade would work 1 more inning and give up 1 more single. His line for the day was 4 innings pitched. He gave up 3 runs on 4 hits, no walks, and 5 Ks. What did you think of the stuff, though?
Stuff looked good. Looks like he belongs. The biggest stat that jumps off the page at me, Crawly, after that effort was the amount of pitches he was able to throw, the strikes that he was able to throw, and zero walks. Very impressive. Attacking the zone, not an easy lineup. That's what I was most impressed with. And again, at this point, I don't see why you wouldn't see him again in 5 days, probably against the White Sox.
So when I looked at it and when I watched it, I knew about the fastball, 95 plus heat. I knew the slider was a wipeout pitch, and that was as advertised. I was really impressed with the curveball, and I thought that was really good. And the fact that he could throw a changeup, I feel like he has weapons and other ways to get guys out. And so I thought he was just he looked confident. He looked like he's been there before, right? He didn't look, he wasn't wide eyed. He wasn't,
the moment was not too big.
No. And so in this one, the bullpen just hangs on. Drew Pomerantz pitched a scoreless 6, stranded a runner at second. Daniel Palencia came on to work the 7th. He gave up a single and walk, but struck out 2 batters to end the threat. I talked about that, about Palencia has that swing and miss stuff. He can do that. Bottom of the 8th, Julian Merriweather comes in, gets a strikeout, gives up a single, gets a second strikeout. Who else but Brett Beatty homered to pull the Mets within 1 run. Cubs still leading 6-5. Dustin, Beatty came into the game. That was his 3rd home run in 2 games against the Cubs, right? So just for some context, Beatty hit 1 home run in 45 bats in April, 1 home run in 49 at bats this season. He was hitting 193, and then the Cubs comes to town and he hits 3 home runs and 8 at bats. Like, what in the hell?
Ran into the wrong time to get, let somebody get hot, obviously.
Of all the guys to get hot, Cubs are up 1 run now in the 9th. Porter Hodge comes in, walks the first batter he faces. I'm going, oh God, here we go again. Don't walk the leadoff batter in the 9th with a 1-run lead.
No, that's a recipe for disaster, Crawly.
But he gets Francisco Lindor to ground into a 1-6-3 double play, and then Juan Soto to ground out to fly. Cubs fly the W. And Dustin, how many times have we seen that ball that comes right back to the pitcher and they throw it into center field?
Right.
I love the fact they were able to turn it. And to me, this was a fun win for so many reasons. The bullpen, Cade, Horton, the offense looking good. So I was excited after this one.
Yeah, I was too. I'm with you 100%. Game number 3, early start. It was 11:05 first pitch on Mother's Day. Matt Boyd versus Griffin Canning.
Yeah, great pitchers duel. We kind of felt that it was going to be this one in this game. You wouldn't know it by the final score, but Matt Boyd and Griffin Canning both looked great. Both struck out the side in the first inning, which I don't remember that happening in a long time. Fortunately, the bottom of the second, 2 outs. Boyd would hit Starling Marte with the pitch. And I don't even know if you remember, former Cubs catcher Luis Torrens. He played 13 games for the Cubs in 2023. He hits a triple to put the Mets up 1-0. The score would stay that way until the top of the 6th when PCA hits a solo home run against the team that traded him. Yeah. Game's tied at 1. Dustin, that was Pete's 10th home run of the season.
Isn't that amazing? He had 10 last year, all year, right?
10 in 123 games last season. This time he does it in 41 games. The Mets would come right back with a solo home run from Mark Vientos in the bottom of the inning to go back up 2-1. But the Cubs answered back in the 7th when Michael Busch led off the inning with a walk. Nico Horner doubled to tie the game. So now it's tied at 2. Matt Boyd would get the no decision, but Dustin, that was a great start again, a quality start against a really good team. He went 6 innings, gave up 2 runs on 6 hits with a season high 8 strikeouts.
Yeah, swing and miss stuff, right?
He's been really, really impressive, I thought.
Yeah, delivered way more than I ever thought he would.
But the Cubs offense shut down for, again, another
3 whole hits, Crawly. 3 hits.
Right. Now the Cubs, and 2 runs, 2 of those base hits were extra base hits. PCA hit a homer and Nico hit an RBI double. They were 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position, left 3 men on base. Kyle Tucker, Seiya Suzuki, Carson Kelly were all 0 for 4. That's what we're talking about. That's the heart of your lineup going 0 for 12.
Seiya, I'm guessing, is going to be on the cold list when we get later down into the podcast.
Right. 6th,
Kyle Tucker, too. Kyle Tucker been a little cool as well.
A Kyle Tucker cool is different than everybody else cool. Yeah, he is colder. 6 of the 9 hitters did not get a hit in your lineup. You're not going to win a lot of games with 3 hits. That's just it.
Never. And the bullpen, not so great again.
No, another meltdown. Bottom of the 7th, Red Keller's out of the pen. He pitches a scoreless inning. 8th inning, top of the order comes out. Clownsville decides to go with this closer, Porter Hodge, to face the most difficult part of the Mets lineup. I didn't have a problem with it, Dustin. It just
No, I mean, listen, that he's got to learn at some point, right?
it's just what happened, and it didn't happen that day. First batter he faces, Francisco Lindor hits a home run. Juan Soto lines out. Pete Alonso would double. Mark Viento singled. The Cubs are now down 4-2, and Hodges' day was done. Gavin Hollowell would come in, give up a 2-run homer to the first batter he faced, Brandon Nimmo, and the Mets would win this one 6-2, 4 runs, score in the 8th. When we made our predictions, Dustin, I said that I thought the Mets would take 2 of 3. They're both 2 very good teams. The Mets had home field advantage, right? But I was just shocked at how bad Taillon was on Friday and how bad the offense was in general. We talked during the tail of the tape in the last episode. Cubs were one of the best hitting teams, and the Mets were one of the top pitching teams.
Something was going to have to give, right?
Right. And you saw the difference, though, was the bullpen. This is the 3rd straight year where the bullpen has been a glaring weakness for the Cubs team, and they knew it coming in. I knew it. You knew it. They had to know it. You remember Brad Boxberger being the big free agent signing in 2023? What about Hector Neris in 2024? How are you going to fix this in 2025? Ryan Presley.
Well, we haven't even gotten into the fact that Ryan Presley was brought in the 6th inning Friday night, correct? Wasn't that Friday night?
Correct, because the game was already
no pressure situation, no leverage situation.
Right. And that's the thing is that, that's what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to turn him around. They're going to try to tweak him. They're working on his mechanics, blah, blah, blah. But why wouldn't you just get one of the best arms on the market instead of sitting there with one of these retreads whose best days are behind them? They've done it for 3 straight years. What did I say over and over again? Tanner Scott. You let the Dodgers take him. Tanner Scott now has a 1.83 ERA in 20 games, 4 holds, 9 saves, and 11 opportunities. Porter Hodge has a 5.71 ERA in 19 games with 6 holds, 2 saves, and 4 opportunities. Ryan Presley has a 7.07 ERA in 15 games with 4 saves and 4 save opportunities. So you're not going to sit here. You're going to lose games because of this. Whereas if you had Tanner Scott, I would put the Cubs at least 3 more wins.
3 more wins. Yep.
At least 3 more wins. And that's where I'm really frustrated right now. And we have a commenter. We have Jonathan Schauskup who said, rank from best to worst, losing to the Mets or losing to the new Pope is a White Sox fan. I think, Dustin, my dad was a huge anti-Mets guy because he grew up in 1969. I grew up hating the Mets, but when they changed leagues, it kind of killed the rivalry a little bit. But let me ask you, because the White Sox are coming up.
Divisions, right? Divisions, not leagues.
Right. I'm sorry. Divisions. They went to the NL East, and then the Cubs moved Central. They turned into the Central. They realigned.
Yes.
Would you rather see the Cubs lose? Obviously, you don't want to see the Cubs lose at all. But obviously, I put Mets number 3. Would you put the Cardinals at number 1 or the White Sox at number 1?
Cardinals. It's hard for me to say that. I'm usually Joe, but I mean, over the years, it's the Cardinals. They're more the rival.
Okay, so Cardinals. And the Brewers are bringing it up too a little bit.
The Brewers are right there too. Absolutely.
Well, hopefully, like I said, Dustin, I don't know if there's anything they can do to fix this bullpen situation. I would just like for 1 year to say, hey, the bullpen should be fine.
No, they're getting a guy back off of he was gone on paternity leave, so maybe that'll help.
Caleb Thielbar, yippee.
Yeah, he's back. That's kind of the newest news from the Cubs. All right, Crawly, it's episode 29. It's season number 4. Cade Horton makes his MLB debut. We've been talking about that. Don't forget to listen, download, review, subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. You can email us at crawleysclubhouse@gmail.com. crawleysclubhouse@gmail.com. And don't forget, you can watch us. That's right. Like some of you are right now on Crawly's YouTube page. So after losing 2 out of 3 in New York, what are the standings, Crawly?
We do have some seismic changes going on in the NL Central. The Cubs are still at first place at 23-18, but Dustin, it was a rough week, and they're 5-5 in their last 10. They're playing 500 ball. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, we were just talking about the St. Louis Cardinals. They have won.
They are smoking
8 in a row, 8-2 in their last 10. They are now 1 game behind the Cubs. Brewers in third at 20-21, Reds 20-22, and the Pirates are 14-27, the opposite direction of the Cardinals. They're 2-8 in their last 10.
Well, and as you know, it's definitely the skipper's fault out in Pittsburgh. I mean, that's definitely why they've been losing in so many games, because he just does not know what the heck he is doing, Crawly, but that's a story maybe for another day or later on in the podcast. Bobby Nightingale with some news, and then we got the power rankings as well, right?
Yeah, we do. We do have some news here, and we do have the power rankings. When you look at the power rankings, Dustin, the Royals had a 7-game win streak. They jumped
Yep.
from 15
They're
to
climbers.
10.
They're climbers.
Mariners were 7. They're now 9. Giants stay at 8. You got the Yankees are 7. They were previously 6. Phillies jump up from 9 to 6. Schwarber having an unbelievable year. The Cubs dropped from 3 to 5, dropped 2 spots. The Mets now drop from 2 to 4. The Tigers are at number 3, and they got Padres at number 2, and the Dodgers are at number 1. So that is the power rankings that we got.
No
right
surprise
now.
there, right? Dodgers number 1.
No. You're talking about that Bobby Nightingale, your friend of the
Yes,
pod,
sir.
friend of 670 The Score. You know, he had an interesting news about Kyle Tucker in his Monday column. Said, quote, "The Los Angeles Dodgers plan to jump into the free agent fray for Cubs outfielder Kyle Tucker this winter. They may not be the highest bidder, but they'll surely keep everyone honest, just as they did when they were in the Juan Soto sweepstakes." So, Dustin, think about this right here. The Dodgers' best players, their top 3, are really all infielders, right? You got 2 infielders and a DH.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine adding Kyle Tucker to that mix?
No. It seemed almost unfair, right?
And Dustin, I have a problem. You know I love Bob Nightingale. I love Bob Nightingale. I hung out with him at CubsCon. We had a great time. It was his first Cubs convention. I think he's a great guy. I've hung out with him at spring training. I just like this because to me this seems like tampering. That you're sitting here, oh yeah, we would be interested. Someone planted that in his ear to make sure that got out.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that to me shouldn't happen. It should not happen. And I think the league needs to look into that a little bit.
Interesting. Yeah, maybe. I mean, they do. Writers do some of the dirty work, leg work, if you will, for agents. There's no doubt.
For
No
agents
doubt
and
about
for
that.
front offices too. And this is, I
Mhm.
think, a front office thing. This is a front office thing. And that bothers me. And so hopefully, I don't know, all you can do is make your best offer. But every time you go up against the Dodgers, I'm still pissed off about Tanner Scott, if you couldn't tell from segment 1.
I couldn't tell. I couldn't
Right?
tell. Now, I mentioned that the Pirates fired their skipper yesterday on Mother's Day after allowing 21 runs on
the
Saturday.
Padres,
The
yeah.
Rockies fired Bud Black.
7-33 start. Again, just like Derek Shelton and the Pirates, neither guy is to blame. You just got to have a fall guy. It's never going to be the owner, right? You can't fire the owner.
Mhm.
Anthony Rizzo, Dustin, made his TV commentator debut on Apple TV on Friday night. Is Anthony Rizzo's playing career over?
I don't think he wants it to be, but I think you get through this year and he doesn't play. I think it's game, set, match. You?
I think, yeah, when you start going on the TV shows, it's hard to get
How
back.
did you get to catch any of that? I'll be honest.
I watched
did not.
it. I watched
did not
a
have
little
the
bit of
sound
it.
up. I was with Pat. I was with the radio that night.
I did get to see it, and he was charming as always. You knew guys like him and Rossi and stuff like really had a good career if they wanted to go into it. I think he'll be fine. And it wouldn't surprise me. I wonder. Here's the other thing I saw, Dustin, this weekend or today actually. The Rays announced that Ava Longoria will sign a ceremonial 1-day contract and officially retire as a Ray on June 7th.
All
Like
right.
you said, he played in the World Series in 2023, did not get picked up in 2024. He's officially retiring in 2025. So like you said, after a year, you're probably done. My question for you here is, do you see Rizzo signing a ceremonial contract with the Cubs? Maybe
Well,
the Dodgers?
That's
I
a
don't know.
great question, Crawly. I still feel like I've heard some things behind the scenes that they really broke up in a bad way. The Cubs and Rizzo wasn't nice on the way out. So we're gonna have to see how that goes. That's for sure.
I would hope that he gets the chance.
Yeah. Well, Crawly, we celebrated the anniversary of Kerry Wood's 20K game last week, but one lucky Cub fan and Pearl Jam fanatic, his love for his favorite team and his favorite band came full circle. In this interview, Crawly talks to Jason Brown on an amazing Cubs moment at a Pearl Jam concert in Nashville with fellow Cubs fan Eddie Vedder.
Welcome to a special live edition of Fly the W. I have an awesome guest. And here's the thing. I'm sitting here and the Cubs have kind of struggled. They just lost 2 series in a row. And I wanted to bring a positive vibe, a positive guest. And this, what I got going on here is a story that is just unbelievable. This is a true story. I'm sitting at work, when I should be working. And all of a sudden I see on Facebook Reels a Cub fan singing with Eddie Vedder. And shock of shock, it is my friend, my high school classmate, Jason Brown, Pearl Jam fan extraordinaire, Cub fan extraordinaire. Jason, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. I mean, it's kind of hard to not be good when you're on a Pearl Jam tour, but definitely tired.
Well, like I said, you and I grew up at the same time, close by each other, same high school. We grew up in the 80s with Harry Carey and the 1984 team, and then the 90s team and Kerry Wood and Sammy Sosa. So we grew up at a really fun time to be a Cubs fan, but we also grew up in a fun time to be a music fan. And one of the bands that both you and I liked in high school, I wouldn't say love, like we were just crazy about when that debut album came out, was Pearl Jam. Tell me a little bit about the first time that you ever heard Pearl Jam.
So when they came out, there was a friend. Oh, shoot. Actually, it was another high school classmate, Jeremy Panzer. I remember he gave me a tape. He's like, you got to listen to this. And of course, you run home and you put the tape in the tape deck and you push play. And from the first time I heard words out of Eddie Vedder's mouth, I was like, I saw my path in life. Like, I mean, it was pretty much obsession from day one. And now here we are, 34, 35 years later. So yeah, that's where it started and just never stopped.
Now, you were one of the first people to get into the 10 Club, right?
Definitely not one of the first. I was kind of, a young teenage boy and we don't think very well. So I kind of joined a little bit later, but
Okay.
I got in the 90s, which was really good for me.
And
now.
you and I,
So,
you and I have seen Eddie. We went to an Earthling show together, which was a lot of fun. I think it was at the Chicago Theater. And
yeah.
you've had these two loves of both the Cubs and Pearl Jam. And I'm not as big a Pearl Jam nut as you. I'm not even going to try to go there. But that being said, there's like a little sense of pride you have when your favorite lead singer is also like in love with the same team that you are. Like when I saw Eddie Vedder, I met him at Wrigley Field before. I've saw him obviously at the World Series, and it just put a smile on your face that someone that you have like this connection with, this awesome singer that just loves the same team and lives and dies with them just like you and I do.
Oh yeah, 100%. That just kind of made it feel even better when you find out that, your biggest idol, the person that you just look up to the most, loves the other thing you love the most in life. And yeah, I mean, I have unfortunately not been able to meet him at Wrigley. This was about as close as I got to him ever. So
Pretty darn
but
close, Jason.
we'll get into that in a bit, I guess.
Well, I got to ask you, tell me, after high school, your love of Pearl Jam doesn't die. You served in the military, correct?
I did, yeah. I did some time. I was a combat medic and then an Army National Guard. Kind of loved the adrenaline, of saving somebody's life. And I stayed the course and became an ER nurse. Been doing that for, many years.
And that's just
So,
phenomenal. And how does Pearl Jam help you as far as like with your work? Because you do deal with some heavy stuff, man. And Pearl Jam, the music for me, I know it just has something for every mood. But sometimes, like when I'm kind of just need to just kind of just relax and let it go, it's like sometimes just putting on some Pearl Jam, it's just kind of like the right medicine.
sure. Yeah, I mean, 100%. it depends on how I'm feeling or what I need, because I know that they're always there for me, if it's either to lift you back up or even sometimes just to calm you down. And they have those songs that allow you to experience those two things. And like I said, I'm an Ed guy. Like, listening to his voice is just, I mean, it just grabs my attention right away and just kind of puts me in like a nice, steady, calm state.
Now, at what point in your life did you say, you know what, it would be fun? What if I went to a whole hell of a lot of Pearl Jam shows? What if I tour with them? When did you make that decision to start kind of doing that? Because that's a whole nother level.
Yeah. So the first show, I was 1995 at Soldiers Field for me. And that turned out to be one of the most iconic Pearl Jam shows, to date. And, to be a 19-year-old standing on Soldier Field, which was another dream as a Chicagoan, seeing your favorite band for the first time. And then it turns out to be like a 3.5-hour show. So from that moment, I was like, this is what I want to do. But then I had to go through life to kind of grow up to be able to afford such things, because you realize that it's not that easy at those young ages. So the shows were kind of few and far between for me back then. But in 2000, I was 25 then. Got to, try to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, and I decided to go find myself. So I moved out of Iowa City and took a backpack, and I hopped on the whole binaural tour, which was 48 shows that year. So I got numbers high quickly, and just kind of kept going ever since.
All right. Show, I can see on your wristband. And so tell everybody what that's on your wrist there.
Oh, so these are, here, let me see if I can get it. These
And
are all the GA bands from, we started in Florida for 2 nights, and then we went to Atlanta for 2 nights, and then we got Nashville in there, and we have last night Raleigh 1.
So let's talk Nashville. Now, here is you in a picture of you in the front row, and tell me, what does it take to, if you want that spot right here, if you want front row right in front of Eddie Vedder, what do you have to do to get that spot?
Have a level of insanity. You have to just kind of dive in and commit to kind of diving into, camping out if possible under like sometimes good conditions, sometimes not so good conditions. But there's a lot of people here that are just like me, and we share the same passions. So we're all very like-minded individuals, and it just makes the situation easier because we're all here for each other to get that spot that we want to pick on that rail. Now,
so I'm sitting here looking, and you have like a little fold-out chair. How many hours would you say you're on that fold-out chair?
You'd be surprised. It's not that many, because I can't sit still longer than 5-10 minutes. So, but overall, cumulatively, I would say it's probably in the thousands.
So you're at Nashville. You don't know what you're going to expect, and that's the fun thing about Pearl Jam, and similar to the Grateful Dead and Dave Matthews Band. There's a lot of bands that don't play the same show twice in a row. Like some bands you go to and you know what the set list is going to be, and with Pearl Jam, you don't. And so you get to the Nashville show, and you must have had this circled on the calendar because it was May 6th. And we know May 6th, this was the 27th anniversary of Kerry Wood's 20 strikeout game. And so here you are right here with I can see your Cubs hat on with the World Series logo. It looks like some Cubs shades. And you got your obvious shirt, Kerry Wood is still my favorite. So you got that right there. And so, I mean, did you say like, maybe was it like, okay, I'm here, Eddie's going to be here, I'm going to be close, I'm going to put something so Kerry Wood on just because I know Eddie's going to love it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from the moment the tour was announced, like officially, I started looking at the calendar, and you always look for special things on show days because, there's something to maybe be celebrated, whether they're good or bad. And this one happened to be, I was like, oh boy, this is Kid K's 20 game. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna make a thing of this. And plus, Nashville. It's like it's a music town, it's a fun party town, it's gonna be exciting and electric. And I'm like, what better way to honor Kerry, who lives there on the day with his favorite band, and which happens to be my favorite band.
Did you know
So
that Kerry would be there?
I did not at the time when I was planning, but I did know once Showtime came up because of a gentleman I met in Atlanta, who was also a big avid Cubs fan, had some Cubs gear on, and he brought his little son, who also had Cubs gear on, and made a sign. And they were kind of standing behind me, second row, from the rail, and he was wanting to hear Wish List, and they played it. So I brought the kid up, and I let him have his moment on the rail, and he got totally excited, and it was amazing. And then we started talking. The dad and I started talking, and he said that he had took a picture of me earlier in the day wearing my Kerry Wood jersey, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And he's like, "Yeah, I sent it to one of my friends because I thought like he'd appreciate it." And I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. It's Kerry Wood." So that naturally was like for me, right?
Well, let me
So
let me
that's yeah.
let me walk you through this right here. So you're sitting there, the show starts, and a lot of times, sometimes you got two different. To me, I don't know, and you tell me, you're the expert here. I've been to the a decent number, not a decent, a fair amount of Pearl Jam shows. Like next to you, I'm not even close, but just that idea of like sometimes I feel like they kick it off with a bang, but other times it kind of got like a low rumble and there's like a buildup, right?
Yeah.
And when I look at that set list, that's what it kind of looks like to me, like a slow build up, and then it just starts going crazy, right?
Yes, 100%. And that night one in Nashville was just incredible because it was exactly what you just said. They started out with like a great buildup, and then they just took off. And they feed off of their crowd. So when the crowd is really going, they keep trying harder and harder. But the set just kind of kept growing and growing. And it was an electric night, honestly, which made me kind of go crazy.
So you're close. You're right at the stage. Eddie Vedder is going to
Yep.
be very close as well. Did you
Mhm.
ever kind of make eye contact, or were you waving the jersey, or were you trying to get his attention? How did you know that he saw you?
Well, I was kind of in this nice little sweet spot. So I don't know if anybody's familiar, but they don't have a straight rail at their shows. Ed has a little bit of a bump that kind of comes out from a rail that people can stand around and they get a little extra time with him. I was in the corner of that bump, kind of on Stone Gossard's side, which was like a perfect spot because that's right in Ed's like view when he sings and he kind of looks that way and goes that way. So there was really no doubt that he wouldn't see my shirt. Didn't have the jersey on at the time because it was getting too hot, so I took it off for most of the show. And that's how he saw me. And he's Ed's one of those guys that he's really paying attention to the crowd, the first like 3, 4, 5 rows, and he's even looking out into the seats on the left and the right. So he's well aware of the familiar faces that are at the shows.
So I'm going to go through this video right here. Can you hear me?
I can.
All righty. So there's Eddie, and he's kind of jamming, right? Like I can see Eddie, and he's jamming a little bit. And there's you, and you're kind of rocking out. And when you're doing that, at what point do you notice that he notices you? Like something's happening, and he's kind of like pointing, he's dancing. Tell us what song was going on and what happens here.
So this was during Brain of Jay. And he had, he kind of walked over, and I think he may have like really read the shirt at that point, came back, and I went to go reach what I thought was for my Cubs sunglasses. So I go to hand them to him, And he's like, no, get up here. And I'm like, what? He goes, no, come on, get up here. And I said, okay. So I hopped over the rail and went up, and now here's the video.
Now it looked like obviously there's probably a little bit of nerves going on there when you look at the situation, because you got the security guy right there and all that stuff. And
Not at all.
and so you get back
Not
and
at
you're
all.
just now at that point you're electric. Everyone's happy. Tell us then what happens later on in the show.
So towards the end of the show, I don't even remember what they were playing, but I wanted to show Ed that I had a Wood jersey on, because when you wear jerseys at a concert, you don't really see the back. So I held it up so we can actually see the Wood 34, and he just came right over and swiped it out of my hands, and he took off with it. He
And
stole
so
my
he-
jersey.
So
And I'm
he
like,
sings
well,
the
all right.
he sings the last few songs wearing your Kerry Wood jersey, and then poof, off.
Yep. And he's gone. Kept my
He's
jersey.
gone.
It's gone. Yep, gone.
Now I saw the video, and again, I want to thank Evil Little Goat on Instagram. He had all this great video that I'm using to kind of show people what's going on here. So give him a follow on Instagram. If you're a big Pearl Jam, I'm sure you already follow Evil Little Goat, but if not, follow him now. But I think that, to me, then now you sit there and you got Nashville night 2, and you have no Kerry Wood jersey. Are you kind of like, figuring out,
I felt naked.
wondering how you're going to get that thing back?
Kinda. I mean, after buzzing from night 1, there was an awful lot of attention coming my way, and it was all positive. It was very exciting for, a lot of these Pearl Jam fans, including myself. But night 2, I was like, yeah, I want my jersey. like Eddie Vedder stole my jersey, and like I'm a little bitter about it. But if I'm gonna lose it, I'll lose it to him. But yeah, I didn't really know what to do other than, we'll see if he gives it back.
But now all of a
So
sudden it's night 2, and there is a special guest in the crowd.
there is, and yeah, I'll tell you about it. So we're getting ready for Pearl Jam to come on. This was after the opening band, and I got a call from the gentleman that knows Kerry, saying, hey, I need you to come meet me in section 107. We got something for you, but come before the set. So I quickly just run out of the pit, run over to section 107, see my buddy, and then all of a sudden there's Kerry Wood, and he goes, hey, I came down to meet you, and I just wanted to say thank you, and I'm so humbled and honored that you honored me, and my kids really, really enjoyed that, and you rocked it. And I wanted to give you a small token of my appreciation, and he gave me a signed Kerry Wood jersey, which I
So
thought
that
was
right there,
really freaking cool.
and
Yeah.
it says, Jason, keep rocking, Kerry Wood, 20K, 5698. I mean, he inscribed it like a pro. I'm sure he's, and so now at this
Yeah.
point, you have a new Kerry Wood jersey, but you can't wear that at a Pearl Jam show.
Correct. It's already wrapped in plastic before I get home. So,
So you're going to have to get that thing framed special.
yes.
And then when you take a look there, did he give you that obvious shirt?
He did give me the obvious shirt as well. But one small thing to get back, the main reason he gave me the jersey was because he said that he felt bad that Ed stole my jersey. And I'm like, exactly. See, I knew you would get it, because all my friends are like, you should be so happy you were on stage. And I'm like, but he stole my Kerry Wood jersey, you know? And apparently he talked to Ed about that after night 1. And this is a little funny tidbit. He's talking to him. He's like, hey, Ed, that was really cool, but like, you stole that guy's jersey. And Ed goes, he'll be okay. And then Kerry goes, that's fucked up.
And so you get that jersey, that shirt. I don't know. Was that sold to the public? I don't even know if that was sold to the public.
That's what I'm saying. I honestly don't know, because I was like, wow, I've never seen that shirt before. So yeah, I'm going to probably wear that, and we'll we'll enclose the jersey. We'll retire it.
That is definitely a jersey to be retired. And
Yeah.
this put such a smile on my face because I mean, for me, when the Cubs asked me to present Miguel Montero with the World Series ring, like it just meant the world to me. Like all that,
Yeah.
to be a fan and give so much of yourself to something, like that, and then all of a sudden to be rewarded for it one day is just like
Right.
nothing else. And when I watched you jumping up and down on that stage, and when you get back, you just got this big shit-eating grin on your face, man.
Oh yeah.
You're literally on a different planet, man. And I just watched that, and I was like, man, it couldn't happen to a better guy. And just the way that you live and breathe Pearl Jam and Cubs, and just to have all those worlds all meet in Nashville is just fantastic. And
Absolutely.
what does it say about Kerry Wood as a guy to do all of that? Like he didn't have to do any of that, but whatever, dude.
No, not at all. Not at all. And it's funny because our mutual friend, he showed me the text message thread that he had with Kerry, and Kerry's like, "Hey, is your Cubs guy gonna be at the show for night 2?" And he's like, "Yes." And he goes, "What's his name?" And he told him Jason. And so it was I'm still on cloud 9, and I might just move up there, to be honest with you. I might just stay, It's like, how do you
Yeah.
top that? But
Yeah, that's hard to top, man. But it really, like I
yeah.
said, if anyone deserved it, man, it was you, and I'm just so happy. And it's funny because I have all sorts of memorabilia, and I can't keep it all. I just unless I win the lotto and get some more wall space, I'm about filled. And I remember I was like, okay, I got something that I think you'll like if you're interested. And it was a Kerry Wood. It was Eddie Vedder throwing the first pitch, and Kerry Wood caught it, and Kerry Wood's giving Eddie the ball back, and Eddie's got a big smile on his face like a big old kid,
You're right, right.
And you have that. It's signed. I got it signed by Kerry Wood, and I tried for years to get it signed by Eddie. I remember I thought I came really close. One time he performed at Rosemont with the Who. He was subbing in for Roger Daltrey and Pete and Simon Townsend were there, and he was there, and I waited probably till 4 a.m. waiting for him to come out. I was like, man, please come out. I never got it. And I'm like, all right, I can't keep this thing anymore, but if someone's going to get it done, it's Jason. And so I got a feeling now that maybe one day that's going to be signed, and that's going to be awesome, man. And what an honor. And you are a bleacher bum. You got season tickets in the bleacher. Your son, he worked he worked at Wrigley Field. Still working at Wrigley?
No, he just did the 1 year for now. So, but his name is Vedder, and he's 20. So,
hey, man.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I would say what an experience for you, man.
Yeah. Funny thing, I'm glad you brought up that print, which, by the way, thank you for that. I mean, that just warmed my heart like so much. I actually brought it reluctantly to Nashville because I'm like, all of these stars can potentially align, and I'm like, I have to try to bring this. So I got a little poster tube, a plastic one that I knew I can bring in because I asked the venue, and I had it with me, and I tried to get it up to Eddie, but he decided to steal my jersey instead. So
well, maybe
we'll
one day in exchange for the jersey, he'll sign that print, and it will be completed. And boy, think about that. Wouldn't it be cool to encase that with the jersey?
Oh, 100%. 100%. It's going to be a whole wall full of like that Nashville weekend,
Absolutely
So,
love it, Jason. And congratulations on everything, man. And I just wanted to put this out here. Like I said, put some good vibes in the air for the Cubs. Hopefully they beat the Marlins, and hopefully this tour continues to kick some ass and you continue to rock it out. And I look forward to seeing you when you come back to Wrigley.
Yeah, awesome, my man. Thank you so much for having me. And, hey, go Cubs. And let's go get the W's.
Go Cubs.
Yes.
This is episode 29 of season number 4. Cade Horton made his Cubs debut Saturday night out in Queens. We're wrapping up the series with the Mets, and it's time to take a look, Crawly, at the Marlins. Don't forget, you can download, you can subscribe, and you can leave us a 5-star review. And some of us already know it, but you can watch us on Crawly's YouTube page, Crawly's Clubhouse YouTube page. All right, Cubs and Marlinas. Marlinas going from the south side to the north side, going to spend about 7 days in our fine city.
Yeah, the Marlins had a rough 2024, finishing in last place in the NL East with a record of 62-100. They broke the record, Dustin, for most players used in a single season. How many players? 70.
Wow.
70.
Seems like a
Manager
lot.
Skip Schumacher announced he wasn't returning for 2025, and GM Kim Ng left after a disagreement with ownership. The Cubs took the season series with the Marlins last year. They split a 4-game series in April, but they took 2 of 3 in Miami in August. When we take a look at the offseason, once again, the Marlins are in full rebuild mode. They hired Clayton McCullough as their manager. They traded Jesus Luzardo and Jake Berger, and they only have 2 players from last year's team, Jesus Sanchez and Nick Fortes, along with Sandy Alcantara, who didn't play last season, he was on the IL all the time. They did add Matt Mervis to play first base. Remember, that was the Vidal-Brujan trade.
All right.
So this season is going as expected for the Marlins. They're currently in last place with a record of 15-24 in the NL East. They are 3-7 in their last 10 games. The Marlins lost their last 5 series in a row, including 2 of 3 to the White Sox, like you were talking about earlier. They are 10-12 at home, but only 5-12 on the road. They're 6-18 against teams with a winning record. The Marlins have a lot of injuries, Dustin, but they're starting to get a couple guys back. We're going to see starting pitcher Ryan Weathers. He's going to get called off the IL. Outfielder Derek Hill. They'll be without second baseman Otto Lopez with an ankle strain, and outfielder Dane Myers is day-to-day with back discomfort after sliding in awkwardly trying to steal a base on, Friday night?
Friday night, yep. All right, Crawly, tail of the tape time. Let's hear that bell.
All righty, as you can guess, our Cubs are very much in much better shape than the Marlins. But here's
but they're falling. The batting average, look at all the way down to 10th now.
Yeah, big drop down to 10. They were in the top 5, and now they're 10th at 252, while the Marlins are 14th at 246. The slug is still there. The Cubs have 438. That's 3rd in baseball, while the Marlins 377. That is 20th in baseball. Then you got runners in scoring position. The Cubs are still second at 286, while the Marlins are 17th at 249. This is the big difference, Dustin, is the pitching. After having to face the best pitching team in baseball, you are nearly facing the worst starting pitching in baseball.
Well, if you don't get the offense going now, when would you get it going, right?
Well, the Cubs have a 3.68 starting ERA, which is 10th in baseball. Marlins 6.26, 29th in baseball. Relievers, though, still a problem. There's not that big of a difference between the Cubs and the Marlins. Cubs are 24th with a 142 whip, while the Mets are 154, 27th in baseball as far as their whip is concerned. The Cubs have the advantages fielding. They are 5th in baseball with 20 defensive runs saved, while the Marlins are 17th with 5 defensive runs saved.
All right, pitching probables. We're going tonight. Colin Ray versus Cal Quantrill.
6:40 p.m. start. Yes.
Colin Ray's still in session start time.
Yes. Colin Ray's 2-0 at the 2.43 ERA in 8 games. 5 of those starts with 25 strikeouts in 29 2/3 innings. Ray's been a great surprise for the Cubs since joining the rotation. He's been excellent as a starter, giving up 2 runs or less in 4 of his last 5 starts. His roughest outing came in his last start against the Giants. He gave up 5 runs, 4 earned in 5 innings of work, gave up 2 walks and 4 strikeouts. So, Dustin, we're looking for a bounce back here.
Yep.
Ray has only appeared in 2 games in his career against the Marlins, one as a starter and the other out of the pen. He has a record of 0-2 with an ERA of 8.59 in 7 1/3 innings, but only 3 Marlins hitters have seen Ray. So this is a different team than he's seen in the past. None of them have more than 2 at-bats against him. But Dustin, one thing that's kind of important that we kind of take a look at really quick, we do have the lineups for today's game.
Yep.
PCA again leading off. No
Ian Happ. Ian Happ still out. Seiya Suzuki in left.
Yep. And I'm worried about that oblique with Ian Happ. And he's a guy, he is one of those, the straws that stirs the drink, as you like to say.
Mm-hmm.
And when he's not in there, it screws things up. I just don't like the way the lineup looks in that situation. The other thing to keep in mind, our friends over at Wrigley Winds, you can download their app or you can follow them on Twitter at Wrigley Winds. 66 degrees tonight, but the wind is blowing in from center field at 7 miles an hour. gusts up to 14 miles an hour. So you would think that the Cubs should be able to get runs, but it may be a little bit tricky. The hitting conditions not ideal over at Clark and Addison.
And interesting too that for the DH tonight, batting fifth is Carson Kelly.
You have two catchers going in the lineup tonight.
So that's something I don't think we've seen before. So that's
we saw it a lot. Joe Madden used to like to do that a lot. And you remember you had like Miggy and Wilson and David Ross, and he would go with the two catcher lineup, but it's been a while.
Yeah.
Cubs haven't had two good catchers in a while.
No.
For the Marlins, Cal Quantrill is a 7-year veteran on his fourth team. This is his first season with the Marlins, and it hasn't gone well. He's 2-3 with an ERA of 7.11 in 7 starts, with only 22 strikeouts and 31 2/3 innings pitched. He has given up 4 runs or more in 4 out of his 7 starts and has only made it out of the 5th inning 1 time. He did not look good in his last start against the Dodgers. He did look good. I'm sorry. He did look good in his last start against the Dodgers. He pitched 5 innings and gave up only 1 run on 4 hits with 1 walk and 6 strikeouts against that lineup. Cal is 1-3 lifetime against the Cubs in 7 games. 4 of those starts with an ERA of 8.31. Nico Horner is 5 for 8 against Quantrill. Nicky Lopez 6 for 18, but Dansby Swanson's is 1 for 10. Quantrill throws a split, a 4-seamer, a cutter, a curveball. But if the Cubs can have a patient approach, they can draw some walks off Quantrill.
But Nicky Lopez not in the lineup tonight. John Birdie is your starting third baseman batting 9th. So, I mean, what are they doing? These are the things. I mean, come on. If we have the numbers, they've got to have the numbers, right, Crawly?
Somebody get him on the score. Ask him. I'd like to know.
Yeah. All right. Game number 2, Crawly. We've got Ben Brown going. This is another 6:40 first pitch.
Yeah, Ben Brown's 3-3 with a 4.95 ERA in 8 games, 7 of those starts with 44 strikeouts and 36 1/3 innings of work. The trouble with Ben is the extreme difference in his home starts versus the road starts, and this is a home start. On the road, Ben is 3-0 with a 1.59 ERA, but at home, he's 0-3 with a 7.91 ERA. I mean, those are just huge splits. I mean, you're talking about like 6 runs difference.
Massive splits. Yeah.
2 starts ago against the Brewers in Milwaukee, he pitched 6 shutout innings. In the last start against the Giants, he gave up 3 runs and 5 innings of work, and it could have been worse if PCA didn't throw out a runner at the plate. Ben has only faced the Marlins once, throwing 2 scoreless innings out of the pen. Only 1 Marlin has at bats against him. Jesus Sanchez is 0 for 1, and that's it. For the Marlins, we have Valente Beloso. He's in his 2nd season for the Marlins. The 25-year-old righty is 0-2 with a 3.50 ERA in 4 games started with 14 strikeouts and 18 innings pitched. Even though Beloso's win-loss record doesn't look good, he's pitched well in all of his starts except for 1.
Right.
He gave up in his first start against the Pirates, he gave up 1 run in 4 1/3 innings. Against the Mets, he gave up 1 run in 3 2/3 inning. His worst start was on May 2nd when he gave up 5 runs in 4 2/3 innings against the Athletics. But he bounced back in his last start against the Dodgers on May 7th, pitching 5 1/3 shutout innings with 2 walks and 7 strikeouts. Now, he doesn't give up a lot of runs, but Dustin, he doesn't go very deep in games either. He's only made it out of the 5th inning once in his last start versus the Dodgers. Beloso has only faced the Cubs once in his career. It didn't go well. He gave up 6 runs, 5 earned in 4 2/3 innings of work, and walked 5 batters and allowed 3 home runs. No one on the Cubs has more than 3 at-bats against Beloso, but Miguel Amaya and Seiya Suzuki are both 2 for 2. Beloso uses a cutter, 4-seam, a sweeper mix. Beloso gives up a lot of contact and a lot of balls hit in the air. I don't know what the Winds are doing tomorrow, but if they're blowing out, I would hit the over with the Cubs against Beloso.
Keep an eye on that. I love it. All right. Game number 3, Jameson Taillon, another night game, 6:40 first pitch.
I will be at this one.
Oh, okay.
Jameson Taillon's 2-2 with a 4.53 ERA in 8 games started with 35 strikeouts and 43 2/3 innings pitched. JMO was on a roll before going to New York, pitching quality starts against the Phillies and the Brewers. Unfortunately, he had his worst start on Friday, like we talked about. He had 5 earned runs in 4 innings of work, 4 solo home runs, and he had to throw 100 pitches to get through those 4 innings of work. JMO, like Ben Brown, is going to have to look for a bounce back against the Marlins. He's 3-0 lifetime against Miami with a minuscule .83 ERA in 4 games started. Not only that, JMO is like the opposite of Ben Brown. He's awesome at Wrigley and not so great on the road. He has a 2.45 ERA or 2.50 ERA at Wrigley Field versus a 5.96 ERA on the road. And he has a 2.45 ERA in day games versus a 5.23 ERA in night games.
Well,
So
if
it
the
lines
sun's
up
still up,
good.
does it count? I mean, if the sun's still up, does that count?
That's what I'm thinking. Maybe only 2 Marlins have bats against Jameson. Nick Fortes and Jesus Sanchez are both 0 for 2 against him.
All
And
right,
for
who's going for the Marlins, Crawly?
Ryan Weathers, 25-year-old lefty who will be making his first start of the season on Wednesday after suffering a left flexor strain late in spring training. So he's done his rehab starts. He's 1-2 lifetime against the Cubs with an 8.27 ERA in 5 games, 4 of them starts. Most of the Cubs don't have more than 5 at-bats against Weathers. Ian Happ is 2 for 8. Nico's 2 for 5. Weathers is a ground ball pitcher, but he also has a high walk percentage. So again, if the Cubs can have the patient approach they've had most of the season, they can, again, against Beloso, against Weathers, you can draw walks. He throws a 4-seamer, a changeup, and a sweeper is what we will see.
All right, the hot and not time. I thought I was right, and I'm right. Kyle Tucker and Seiya Suzuki making it to the not hot list. Ian Happ's on the list. He's injured, but Dansby Swanson has picked things up a bit.
Yeah, I'm really worried because the Cubs are struggling. Like you said, Dansby's hitting 333 for the last week and Nico's 300. But then you take a look, Kyle Tucker, 158, Seiya Suzuki, 0.091, Carson Kelly, 0.083. And so these guys are really, really struggling. Not a lot of hot for the Cubs. And so you've had to face really tough pitching in San Francisco. You've had to face tough pitching against the against the Mets. So let's go ahead and see what you can do against something better. Hopefully get these batting averages turned around.
Yeah, Kyle Tucker has struggled a bit for Kyle Tucker.
Yep. And so if you take a look at Miami, look out for Connor Norby. He's their third baseman.
Okay.
He's 5 for 14 with an RBI, slashing 357, 438, slugging 500. Also look out for Xavier Edwards. Their shortstop is 6 for his last 19. But none of these guys really hit for power. They have
So
a
now
catcher.
we're not worried about any of the Chicago connections, huh? Neither one made the hot or the not list.
Matt Mervis, he's kind of in the meh. He's in
Meh.
lukewarm. He's 2 for his last 8. No
Meh.
home runs, no RBIs. He's slashing 250, 455, and slugging 250. So nothing that great, but you really don't have to worry about Javier Sanoja. He's their left fielder. He's 2 for their last 15. And Kyle Stowers is their right fielder. He's 2 for his last 16. So, these guys don't hit it hard. They don't hit it with runners in scoring position. I really am hoping that the Cubs really come back to life with the bats. I'm just worried about this Ian Happ situation.
Prediction time. I will go first. The Cubs are going to win this series, Crawly. I might be most nervous about tonight's game, to be honest.
You're worried about tonight's game
Because of the offense not being able to get going. You talked about the weather earlier. That's what's troubling.
I'm going to go with the Cubs taking 2 out of 3. I'm nervous about game 2. Ben Brown,
2.
until he can show me that he can
At
pitch
home?
at Wrigley,
Okay.
I don't really feel confident. I haven't seen it. I love Ben Brown, the human being. I love the player. He was on the podcast when he was a minor leaguer. He was on the podcast when he was a major leaguer. I love the guy. I want nothing more to see him succeed. These are part of the growing pains that come with young pitchers. But I need to start seeing him doing something at home. That's what I would like to see.
All right, very good. That's a wrap, Crawly. Don't forget to listen, download, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Have any questions? We're here to answer them. Email us, crawlysclubhouse@gmail.com. You can watch us, as some of you are right now, by subscribing to the Crawly's Clubhouse YouTube channel. Thanks to everybody who's popped in and checking in with us. We really do appreciate it. We're taking you up until the Cubs pregame over on the Score is going to be at 6:10, and then first pitch is right around 6:40. So enjoy the game. The weather outside is fantastic. I was able to spend a couple hours doing the old honeydews outside, so that was good too.
Love it. And yeah, thanks, Jonathan Chenault, for chiming in. My guy, Scott Nelson, one of the best in the business, coming in here. Love hearing your comments. And, I'm excited to be going back to Wrigley on Wednesday, maybe one of the first games where I'm not freezing my tail off. Come say hello, and let's root on the Cubs over the Fish. Go Cubs!
It's all over.